It's an idea that says that when you put forth effort, you get reward. When you throw your heart and mind and soul into something, you get something back. Now, in my book, I call that notion, that belief that effort brings reward, meaningful work. And when you look at the lives of people who are really successful, what you see over and over again is this idea of meaningful work is embedded in their consciousness. You know, I tell a story in the book of the Beatles. Everybody knows about the Beatles. They come here in 1964 and the British invasion. The most interesting thing about the Beatles is what happened to them before they came to America. In the 1960 and 1959, when they were just kids, they were invited to go to Hamburg in Germany to be the house band at a strip club. And they went there and they stayed there for months on end. And 7 days a week, they played 8-hour sets, night after night in this strip club, right? And over the course of that extraordinary crucible, that experience of playing, they taught themselves how to be a great band, right? In fact, we think now that by the time the Beatles came to America, they had played together as a live band 1,200 times. We could go to all of the clubs on Friday night in San Francisco where all the promising young bands are playing. I submit to you would not find a single band that has played together 1,200 times, right? Just doesn't happen. So what made the Beatles special? What made them special is that they were willing to play together 1,200 times, willing to play 8-hour sets 7 nights a week, 4 months at a stretch. And why were they willing? Because they believed in the notion of meaningful work. They had an opportunity to throw their heart and mind into something and get something back. And that made all the difference in the world. You know, I interviewed Bill Gates for my book, and because I was really curious about what happened to him as a kid, because, you know, he has, as any of you will know, he has this extraordinary experience as a 13-year-old. In 1969, he goes to his school in 8th grade, and they have a teletype machine hooked into a mainframe, which allows him to do real-time programming at the age of 13 in 1969. Those of you who know your computer history will know that nobody was doing real-time programming in 1969, let alone 13-year-olds, right? If you had access to a computer at all, you were using those, remember those clumsy old computer cards, which meant you could do one run every, you know, whatever it was, 3 days. He was doing the real thing from the age of 13 on. And how did he respond to that opportunity? He threw his heart and mind into it. He never left that room, right? He ran up computer bills like you would not believe, because remember, computer time was incredibly expensive then. He told me a story that when he was in 11th grade, Paul Allen, who was his classmate, right, found out that there was a mainframe in the health center at the University of Washington that was free, wasn't being used between 2 a.m. and 6 a.m. On weekday mornings. And so he would go to bed at like 10 o'clock, pretend to his parents he was getting an early night, and set his alarm clock for 1:30, sneak out the window, walk 2 miles to the University of Washington in pitch black, and program from 2 until 6. Right? In fact, he told me one of the reasons he gives so much money to the University of Washington now is he feels guilty about stealing so much computer time from them. The other hilarious thing is his mother years later said, you know, when she heard that story for the first time, she was like, you know, we always wondered why it was so hard to get him out of bed in the morning. Right? Now, why does he do that? Why does he go to those extraordinary lengths? Because he has the right attitude, right? He was able to capitalize on his ability, not because he's some genius or, you know, I think he's really, really smart. Is he Einstein? I don't know. That's not what sets him apart. What sets him apart is that he had a belief in meaningful work. He was willing to throw his heart and mind into something because he knew he'd get something back. And that attitude is what allowed him to develop his abilities in the way that he did.